the back, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 821. I don't know, Gladiator.
Gladiator.
It was
Opening title credits?
But that's the correct.
Oh, they did,
can't-
didn't
They did, yeah. So it's Glad.
He can't say that because that is the correct title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So Gladiator 2. Okay.
The Gladiator 2.
Gladiators with a $sign on the back.
2 Gladiator 2
Because that.
Furious.
Oh, that's not him. He's the other alien guy. I was gonna say there's kind of a connection there.
Good
So-
enough. Yeah, no, you're fine.
Right?
It's good. You're
Yeah,
fine.
Thank you.
It counts.
Yeah.
Well, before we forget, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
It's me, Matt.
It's Kevin.
And it's Tom. So before we dig in, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn. Wherever you find a podcast, you can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. It's been a few years since that happened.
I know, right? And Joe's not here to check. I mean, and does he check? We might have 10 new reviews.
That
really,
is also true. He is not the most trustworthy of sorts. But you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Ralph Tribble, Phil Timon, Aaron Kyleman, Lane Levanway, Tom Dowdy, Gabriel Lugo, Tammy Lynn Powers, Betts, Heather Sachs, Michael Tonkovic, Chris Valls, Richard Krotzer, Glenn Cougar, Melon Brewer, Travis Tewitt, Julianne Jordan, Chris Magic Man, The Kryptonian Orphan, Ryan Terry, James Install, Geek to Me Radio, Mike and Oscar, Spoiler Piece Theater, Colby Mack, We Are Movie Geeks, Ronnie Castle, Nostalgia Cast, In Session Film, and Matt Naglia. I also need to point out that Joe is not here this week, and he was like, don't forget I shared the episode because I wasn't here last week. So the Brad Hyan rule states that you don't get included in the League of Show Sharers if you're sharing an episode you were on.
right.
Right, because you're supposed to share an episode.
makes sense.
Right, like that's just common courtesy,
Mhm.
and you should do that.
It's expected. It's
Right.
expected.
So I am instituting the Joe Batiste rule, where you don't get credited in League of Show Sharers if you miss consecutive weeks.
Oh.
So
This is 2 in a row.
yeah, it's 2 in a row. So if he were to show up next week,
Mm-hmm.
if
No.
that were to happen, and he shares this week's, then I will
Okay. Okay.
read his name in the League of Show Sharers. But as a regular cast member,
Mm-hmm.
if he misses 2 weeks in a row, then no,
Okay.
that is your punishment.
No. Okay.
That is your punishment.
The rumor mill is going to be going
I know.
nuts.
Yes, we'll probably be all over TMZ. Would be my guess.
Just want you to think about what you've done, Joe.
Yes, he's not listening. He shared, but he didn't listen. Right? Like that's what I bet what happened. We'll know, right?
We'll know.
if he sends
If he
us a
talks
message
about
in the
this,
group
yeah.
chat, then we'll know he's actually. This is really just a test.
This is this Joe Batiste rule I hear
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, exactly. So we shall see.
Okay.
We shall see.
We should call it something like the butt ice fallacy or something. Give it a cool name.
It sounds too much like Bud Ice. We'd end up getting sued by
Okay.
Anheuser-Busch, so we have to be
okay.
careful there.
Okay. Fair.
So also don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. What am I supposed to plug? Oh yeah, we have we got the YouTube. You should go there and
oh yeah,
watch
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Mhm.
it. So it's fascinating. You can see what hoodie I'm wearing each week. This week, it's ELO.
It's also fascinating to see what movies no one cares about and then
Yeah.
what movies take off. Like, again, as we've talked about in the past, A24, Heretic, in the first day or whatever, 300 views. That's great. We love seeing it, you know?
Yeah.
Red One, The Rock's random-ass streaming go theater Christmas movie, 60 views. You know, it's like, it's
Yeah.
interesting to gauge what the popularity scale is. Now, a Matt F. Bosler episode, that could,
This
Those-
thing's going to
this
go
is-
crazy.
right? So we're on a good at least every other week, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in to Gladiator Dose.
So, Matt, where were you when you first saw Gladiator?
I don't know. I don't remember, and it turns out I remember very little about the first movie, or at least that's what Gladiator 2 made me think. And I think actually maybe I did remember plenty, and then they started changing stuff or making stuff definitely fully canon to the story that maybe in the first one was maybe kinda, but not really.
I am shocked at how much of a sequel this is because I thought it was
Totally.
going to be a sequel in name only.
I agree.
right?
I
Like,
just thought it was going to
another
be like,
Gladiator story.
we've
right?
got a new Gladiator.
and
right?
Rome, right?
Maybe
you
they
know?
bust out that his curious. What,
sorry?
what do you call
Oh,
that?
there's a
little
lot of
chest-
curiosity in this.
Yeah.
What do you call a little chest plate guy? What is that?
breastplate? I don't know.
Breastplate?
I would call it a breastplate.
Tell us in the comments below what word
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of. But
We call it a titty holder.
But also yell at him for being too dumb to know what it's called.
yeah,
that's-
call me stupid.
Yeah.
I'm woke too, by the way.
Oh, those are we do get the comments from that crowd, so you know.
So I don't know. I saw
Hey,
Gladiator.
what do you think about Elvis? Do you have any thoughts? Or
Oh, Elvis the pedophile, the confirmed pedophile. Yeah.
Photographic. He's such a pedophile that he was nominated for Attorney General.
And and here's my take. It was a different time.
oh,
It was fine. We used to wear parachute pants. Okay, people used to be pedophiles.
I will say this in defense of Elvis,
Oh
because
no!
Lord knows he needs it.
oh,
Do the math on your grandparents, or depending your age, great grandparents. I promise you, a lot of you are gonna find
Uh-oh.
it's not radically different. Like it's just
so what's the other one? People don't like when we hate on Venom.
Is that
Nobody-
true?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Venom, the Venom heads.
I-
They're out there.
Super bummed.
I know. Really,
Well,
that
no-
was your Super Bowl. Like I could not believe when you had to be out of town on
I
a
know.
show. Because I'm like Matt this weekend. Venom 3.
Man, Sony. Love
There's
'em.
one other one. Who else doesn't? Who else takes off when we talk bad
I
about
guess
it?
a DC.
Yeah, the DC
any
stuff
DC
is pretty.
movies, yeah.
That's fair because, yeah, they like to come out and defend.
Sony Marvel kind of is DC. They
They
could
have.
hang out. They could hang out.
Seriously, we've talked about this on the last.
Sony Marvel wishes they were DC.
Well, true.
like whatever the worst DC movie is, Sony Marvel wishes they could do that good.
But it's still the same kind of head scratcher where you got all these characters and you have all these actors that are, pretty big names. And what are you trying to do over there?
I don't know.
I don't even remember what the last one was. What was I guess Venom 3.
Venom 3.
And we were
Yeah.
talking about like crap after crap after crap. And it's like, just sell it. Sony, get your payday. Avi Arad, get your pay.
Sure.
Whoever has the rights, just get your payday, sell it for a big fat number. Disney's all about buying every property there is out there. Give them these characters back and let them just.
Do you think the actors in a Sony Marvel movie are like, they sign on because they're just like, well, I guess Kevin Feige doesn't like me. I'll go do this now. Because if you're in a Sony, like if you play Venom, right, or if you play Morbius,
I wish.
they're not going to bring you into the MCU now, right?
Because they do cross over.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man
Right.
being in, the MCU stuff. So it's like, yeah, you don't want to. It's got to be a hard decision. Do you take the payday or risk it not going into the real thing?
Or do you hold out in the
Yeah.
hopes that you'll get in the real
Right.
Marvel
I mean, it's
movies?
rare that anyone crosses over unless Disney buys up your old
Right.
stuff and then, X-Men stuff. Yeah, that's got to be tough. But anyway, so this movie,
Oh,
anyway, hopefully
sure.
the comments are in by now and we
I
can.
saw it. I think I saw it in theaters. I think I probably
Yeah.
saw it one other time.
I don't know if I saw this in theaters. I feel like this was a Blockbuster rental. Was the first one like 2000?
2000.
Oh, was it 2000?
It's 2000. Yeah.
So I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I remember renting it at Blockbuster for sure. Either way, and like it was a huge movie, right? Like
Oh,
it
it was
was
massive.
It wasn't like the second highest grossing movie
well,
of
and,
2000.
I mean, it was like this dumb Gladiator movie, and then it gets nominated for Best Picture, right? And
right.
That sounds
Did
right
it
to
win?
me.
I think it might have.
I
I think it might have won.
Let me look that up. I think it was
Guys,
nominated.
tell us in the comments.
Can you guys just we got the fact checker person, like the producer of the show, but we don't hire them. It's just the
It's
listeners.
just
and
them.
We just need them to chime in.
It's good for engagement to
but-
say intentionally wrong
Yeah.
things as well.
So Gladiator 2000, it made 187,000 domestically and
You
200.
mean million?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because 187,000 would not be.
That
Well,
impressive.
just in for inflation. Inflation's wild right now.
That's true.
Not for long.
Bidenomics.
Yeah, so I mean, it was 187,000 back in and they were
They're
rich.
gonna close the Department of Education and then take all that money and give it to Gladiator 1's box office.
Yes, they deserve it.
I
They
think
really
this is
do.
what they're gonna do.
So 187.7 million domestic, 277.8 overseas, 465 million worldwide. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's before. I mean, think about it, that's like in the X-Men era, where even the big superhero
Yeah, it
movies.
won Best Picture, and Russell Crowe got Best Actor.
Holy crap!
He's a good actor.
Yeah,
and it
I
won,
didn't realize.
And it won 5 Oscars, and then visual effects, sound, and costume design.
Okay.
Oh,
I
that
mean,
cure. His
Sorry?
cure. I'm gonna look it up. His breastplate.
His titty holder.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but like in Latin,
yeah.
Titeus Holderimus.
So the movie was huge. I didn't realize it got so many awards. I remember it was nominated, but
Yeah.
wow. I mean, and it is. I mean, it's a big production. It's a good movie. I mean, that first movie is really epic. It's got great acting. It's good story, good action.
It had been. It's almost like Pirates of the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
in that it had been a long time since Hollywood had made a huge, big budget
Yeah.
movie in this genre.
Would this be a Sword and Sandals? Does that count?
Yeah, but I mean, really, especially those, like, you used to get these Roman gladiator
Yeah.
movies all the time,
Sure.
like in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And then
And Her.
yeah, and then like it became so much easier to access gay porn that you didn't need the homoerotic stories like
right?
this. And so that,
Caligula.
right. And did you know that there's a new cut out of Caligula?
There's a
Oh
new.
yeah.
So
yeah.
this is fascinating.
Okay.
I'm
that's-
want to. Have you seen it?
I'm not, but
I'm
like
very
this is so
interested.
Caligula is famously what it was funded by Bob Guccione, and it's this X-rated movie, but they were like, let's hire real actors and real. I think Gore Vidal wrote the screenplay or something like that, but it is famously bad.
Yeah.
Right. This is not.
Right,
This is
right.
not good. So this guy went through. He got access to all of the footage that they shot because they shot so much footage. And he's assembled because the people that made Gladiator that made Caligula were always like, this movie could have been good, but they just assembled it to make it like as
Yeah.
dirty as possible instead of doing a good movie that
Yeah.
did have some graphic sex scenes.
Didn't
Yeah.
like Hustler?
Yeah, it was
Are you
Bob
getting
Guccione.
there? Are you getting there?
Bob
Or am I-
Guccione
am I
is Hustler. Yeah,
Messing up the story.
yeah. So this new version that's out, the guy that assembled it, he went through the original shot footage, and he has an entirely new cut that does not use one piece of footage
Yeah.
from the original movie.
What?
He completely assembled
It's a completely different movie.
It's a completely. It's a completely different movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And using footage that they shot but didn't use. So
That's
it's basically
wild
like
that you
a
could do that.
3-hour deleted scene.
Yeah.
And supposedly it's pretty good.
I was right. It is a word.
What is it called?
Hold on.
Cuirass.
Harass.
Oh, we can't say that. They said ass.
So anyway, the movie's huge, and it doesn't really. It was made before a time where everything just instantly gets a sequel. So now, if you have a huge mega
Well,
worldwide
and I
hit,
mean,
you just get a sequel.
Spoiler alert, Gladiator dies.
Right,
So like,
but it doesn't matter nowadays. I mean, you're right. They could somehow keep him alive or make that decision. But nowadays, if a movie makes a ton of money, it's just they'll do it. It doesn't matter.
There's the rumor or whatever that there was like the studio wanted a sequel.
oh yeah, I mean they've been trying to make a sequel for a long time.
And I
yeah.
believe who wrote it? No, really, Scott didn't write it.
Gladiator was written by David Franzoni, John Logan, and William Nicholson.
But like Nick Cave and one of the creators got together and wrote this insane script where Maximus comes back from the dead and like
what?
And I think the idea was that they were like, okay, here's our idea,
Yeah.
so the studio would go, oh, never mind.
Oh.
And they do. I mean, like Tom Hanks has said that they tried to get a Forrest Gump too.
Yeah.
And they just gave them like a really dumb idea, and so they'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of stupid."
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're like, "Okay, cool, thanks, bye."
But this is not a movie that necessitates a sequel. This is not a movie that I don't think a ton of people were clamoring for. And I remember when it was announced, it just did seem like a cash grab because you're like, it's a perfect story. It has the ending. It doesn't need a sequel. And so,
But what if you found out that the ending was for nothing and nothing changed and his sacrifice was pointless?
right.
I mean, isn't that how most sequels work?
Yes, and I do not
Yeah.
like it. I think that's bad.
So going into this, like I was saying, I thought, okay, so they made a sequel, but obviously they can't use him. And like, what are they going to do? Like, it's just going to be fast forward. Rome is still Rome. They're doing their thing, and it's going to be new characters with no connections, but he's Gladiator and he's going through some of the same stuff. I was thinking kind of like a soft reboot, but
Sure.
but kind of, which this does go kind of beat for beat, but spoilers, there's a connection. Now, when I saw this, I just assumed that was his son. Like I didn't
Yeah.
watch the trailers, but I go like, well, this got to be his son, right?
I don't think that was the reveal
Well,
that they
yeah.
thought it was.
Now-
yeah.
As a guy who didn't remember anything about Gladiator, I did remember that his son
The
was
family was killed. So right, but like,
and that he
but I
loved
just,
his wife. He loved his wife very much. So
Oh, I don't remember anything about Gladiator. Did the son die in the first one?
yeah, they murder his family, and that's why he
Yeah.
goes crazy and wants to kill everybody and get revenge.
he's a Roman, the head of Rome, Mark Aurelius. Man, I better not even try because
Marcus Aurelius is the grandpa of this guy. It's-
Joaquin Phoenix is his son, the ruler, and he's like, Joaquin, you're crazy. So instead of you being the ruler when I die, I'm going to make Maximus, my general, the leader instead. And he tells Maximus that, and then when he tells Joaquin that, Joaquin's like, well, I'm going to kill you, and nobody knows this. So, and then Joaquin Phoenix sends Maximus out in the woods to get killed. But guess what? He actually kills all the guys that are there to kill him. And then he also goes and kills his family. Maximus goes back to his family, passes out because he's really sad, touches some grain, and then
I do remember grain touching.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
It's like
comes back.
like
It
it's like-
comes back.
It's like a fetish or something, right?
That's
Yeah.
like one of the biggest pieces of imagery from that first movie, and they remind you.
And then he gets put into the Gladiator and finds his way back.
The AMC I went to actually was selling a grain bucket.
A great
That's-
bucket.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I go to see this movie again, I'm just like, well, that's his son. Like somehow, one way or another, if you're gonna do this movie and you can't have Maximus in there, like it's got to be his son going to avenge his father's death. Like I assumed that. I'm like, that's what this is, right? And so when you get to that reveal, I'm just like, I mean, I guess maybe you could not think that way, but I don't know. To me, it seemed obvious.
There's no other reason to hide his lineage from a
Right.
storytelling standpoint.
yeah.
Like, what are they going to tell us that we're going to be like, ooh.
What's your real name? Where are you from? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's of course because it's like because he's.
But see, I was going, well, wait, but his son died. What's going on?
Yeah, but it's Rome, and people.
Well,
been a little promiscuous there.
and I don't know the timelines. Maybe
True.
he because she's the
So is this supposed to be a different non-dead son?
yes.
Oh, okay.
It's he's in the movie. He's the son of the lady,
Yeah.
his mom.
In the
Wait.
first movie, there's a little kid running around. In the first movie, like during all the gladiator stuff, there's a little kid watching all the gladiator
What's her
stuff.
name?
Oh.
What's the lady? The lady in the movie.
The main lady, Aurelius.
Main
Mrs. Miss
lady.
Gladiator.
Connie Nielsen.
good friends with the guy.
Lucilla is her name.
I'm doing a bad job.
Mrs. Gladiator.
Mrs. Gladiator. Well, yeah, and she was the sister of Joaquin Phoenix in the first one.
Right.
And she has a son.
She has a son.
There was a random kid running around in the original movie, and they're just like, "Hey, you were his kid. We didn't tell anybody."
And people, apparently, the way the first one plays out, people thought that maybe they had a relationship because
they're very close in the first one.
But it's the kids' ages are very close together in a way that makes it a little confusing as to when he would have gotten this woman pregnant.
Yeah.
To also love his family so much.
It was a different time.
You're right. You're right. And also, she was 13 at the time.
But in Roman numerals,
oh yeah,
like that looks a lot older.
It does,
so people get confused.
If it was a movie with that Roman numeral, I'd go, I can't. I'm not going to get into this franchise.
Right,
There's too many to watch.
Yeah.
So the thing is, spoilers going into this, as we were talking about this, it's like that's the whole thing. That's the reveal of this movie. If you haven't guessed it, if you haven't heard it, is that he is the son of Maximus. Okay, Russell Crowe's character, the Gladiator, the titular.
Ooh,
oh yeah,
the
titular holder.
Gladiator. This is his son, and so they hide his lineage. They hide where he's from. The people that talk to him keep asking him, "What's your backstory? Where are you from?" Blah blah blah. And
a poem? How would you? How would you know?
There's only one place and one wallpaper. I hung that wallpaper, and I know it's only in one nursery.
Oh yeah.
So
although I will say, as much as I want to make fun of this movie, like it's not like reading was super common probably back then. So like I guess
especially for a soldier, probably
you
not.
know?
He's not a philosopher. He's not some scholar. Right? No. This movie's fine. This movie is perfectly
he's not some woke philosopher.
Yeah,
true.
Over there, like wanting to like get bacteria out of water.
Yeah. But so I
mean, hold
on.
on. Most people die from infection. When that doctor said that, I was like, "Oh boy, you don't know what he's putting in you."
I know.
There's mercury in that.
I was like,
ash.
Had infections been invented yet? Did they know what infection? I honestly don't know.
Was there big pharma in Rome?
Yeah, I honestly was like, when did people discover how to prevent infections?
I don't know,
but there's been since ancient times natural healing and everything. I mean,
But did they know why? I mean, he's saying like.
I think they just. Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say they just use stuff that it's like,
right.
This stuff works. This stuff doesn't. We won't try that anymore.
Now, apparently, no sharks. There were that didn't really happen.
What?
I looked it up.
Now, could they fill the Colosseum with water? That to me, I've never heard of, but I mean,
I think so.
Ridley Scott's a huge history buff. I feel like obviously with Napoleon and the Gladiator stuff, like I do feel that he has a love for history. He's a student of it. He wants to make these films and be somewhat realistic. And so when I saw that, I was thinking, well, that seems crazy, but also, is he going to make up something that far fetched?
Now,
I just had never heard of that.
In my limited research, I feel that history buffs would disagree with you that Ridley Scott is a history buff.
Okay.
And that he's more of a maybe likes history and also likes stuff that looks cool.
Right.
No evidence of baboons,
of rabid monkey dogs.
Although,
those things looked really bad. And I'm again, we just talked last week. I know, Matt, you weren't on the episode, but we talked about CG and how I've kind of just become accustomed to CG, and it sucks and like it is what it is. It's not going away. But like, did they have to make them look that bad? The rhino looked fine. The elephant walking around looked fine or whatever. But like those baboon dog things that probably were a creature that, is extinct, that, things have evolved.
I think they were supposed to have like mange.
But the CG was really bad.
Yeah.
Like
herky-jerky,
weird.
I feel like making them also not look like what baboons that we see look like.
Right.
Made it like another leap. That if they just put fur on him, maybe you would have. In the CG was at the same level. Maybe you would have been
but the CG was really good in other places. And that was the one that pulled me out of it. Even though there were other things that you could clearly see were CG, that was a weird one.
I think because they don't look like real creatures. They look like they're fighting like zombie monkeys.
Yes, yeah.
And I think if I was watching a movie about zombie monkeys, they'd look okay. I think what's
we're on like alien planet
what's clicking in your brain is like, but there aren't really animals that look like this.
Yeah.
And so
and everything was so realistic.
Which is,
and
I mean,
all of
if
a
you've
sudden-
ever seen like a hairless bear, I mean, they look crazy. They
Yeah.
look insane. So
or like
I'm,
an owl with no feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say like, no, the CG was actually good. I just think there was an extra layer of making it
I
bad.
Or
agree.
an extra lack of layer.
Yeah.
Lack of layer.
I just wish they left
So-
they
that
forgot
one
to
out.
render the hair layer.
They ran out of money. The Coliseum had a basement apparently. So like,
But it got added later.
but it did get added later. But there says there was 10 to 20 years before they put in the full basement when it could have theoretically been flooded.
Was Pee-wee's bike down there?
But this, I know, right? But this is like, this is late Roman times, right? This is close to the end. So
The way they're talking, it sure seems like
it sure seems like it. I mean, because it kind of feels like how we're close to the end. But
all empires fall.
yeah, they do. But like, if there's a basement, it couldn't support the weight of the water.
Right.
It would crush it.
Yes.
It would.
Yeah.
You don't. You know.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a lot
I
of
think
water.
that's true.
Because at the arena, I looked at doing an event where they race jet skis and they
Sure.
they fill the bowl with water,
Mhm.
but we couldn't do it because they were like, we have at the time we don't make ice anymore, but when we made ice, the way you make ice is you have pipes. It's like radiant heat, but for cold, you have pipes that run under the floor.
Okay.
You put water down, you get the floor really cold, and it freezes. And they were like, if we put that much water, it's probably going to break those pipes because the floor, and it could
Gotcha.
crack the floor. So like,
That's not good.
Maybe someone in Rome was a little more brave than you and went, do it anyway.
yeah,
Let's do it anyway.
yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
We're sitting here, we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's say this door busts open, 3 rabid baboons just bust in here. Kevin killed immediately, rips his throat out.
So there's an upside.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
You're having some trouble. I
I mean, I'm not a young man.
fighting these baboons and I bite. I don't know what I bite it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do kill this monkey. Would you make fun of me for that later? Like, would you go like, ugh, you bit it? Or would you just be like, oh, that was crazy. Thank you for helping kill the monkeys.
So here's what I would do.
okay.
Yes, I would make fun of you.
That sucks,
But
man.
but an asterisk on that. Yes, I would not make fun of you to your face because you're a crazy MFer
Yeah.
who bit a monkey,
yeah.
who bit a rabid monkey. You could also now become a rabid monkey.
Sure.
And I would not want to
Also,
anger you.
I think there's a good chance you're fighting off your own monkey. You wouldn't even know that happened.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would just have to be taking someone's word for it that you bit a monkey.
Yeah.
Or maybe, in fairness, maybe you had monkey breath.
Oh. Okay.
But when you're watching that, the other thing I don't like about that thing is those animals were so crazy and strong and rabid. Like, okay, he's fighting the one, but there's other ones kind of on the periphery, just like hanging out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wouldn't they just be all tearing him apart? Like, there's one behind him, just like,
There's etiquette, Kevin.
oh,
Be rude.
it's
well-
Bruce Lee rules. It's
Right.
one monkey, at
One
a
monkey
okay.
at a time.
Oh,
It's like when you fight a rhino guy, you got to go to one-on-one.
yeah,
Once he's off that rhino, you can toss your buddy a shield,
yeah,
but that's it. You got to go,
Yeah.
I want to see how this turns out.
yeah.
And just a quick Googling, going back a little bit, people began to understand and actively prevent infection on a significant scale in the mid-19th century.
Now,
Oh.
is that before or after 200 AD?
yeah.
I've-
So yeah, this is.
I'd have to. I'm not good at math.
Yeah, this is close to 200. So the first Gladiator movie takes place in 180, and this movie is 100 or 16 years later. So this is like 196 AD. So that's quite far away from the 19th century.
You could tell this is not a woke movie though, because they said AD and not
They did.
common era.
Yes. I think it is. By the way, I think they say 200 AD. So you can do your precious little
16
math.
years out-
but
Okay. So let's just go through this. So the bad guys of this movie. So there's 2 twins ruling Rome, Geta and Caracalla or
I like
Caracalla.
them. They were fun.
You liked them?
They were nasty little freaks.
Okay. So in Marcus Aurelius, who we talked about, who's the old guy, Joaquin Phoenix's dad, who dies at his hands in the first one. Aurelius's grandson, Lucius Verus Aurelius, lives under the alias Hanno with his wife Arishat in Numida? I don't know. General Accius's Roman army. It's the Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal's Roman army invades and conquers the city, enslaving Lucius and killing Arishat to advertise the slaves as potential.
Lucius, more like luscious.
I agree.
That
Actually, no, I don't.
no. Paul Mescal was huge though. Like that guy. What have we seen him in? He was in something recently. I know he's like a heartthrob type.
Who's this?
Paul Mescal.
The guy.
little gladiator. Gladiator
Which,
Jr..
by the way, that's not a knock against him. But this character in this movie is like nothing. He's like nothing. He's like just a guy. He's just a guy. He doesn't say much. He doesn't do much.
Uh-huh.
He basically, his wife gets killed in about the time it took you to read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else he's been.
He was in the movie After Sun in 2022.
And you know what? I think that beard's not doing him any favors because I did look him up after because I was just like, this guy just looks like a guy. Like,
I was glad I was already very familiar with who Pedro Pascal was, or I think I would have been getting them mixed
Okay.
up the whole movie.
Pedro Pascal is very bad in this movie. I like
yeah?
Pedro
I mean,
Pascal. So the thing is, every time he delivered a speech to his troops, it was just him talking monotone.
Sure.
Okay, let's
I'm
talk
like-
about the speeches.
Okay, we can, but his. I just want to point this out. Every time he made a speech, he was just talking. He was like, "Yes, men, on the dawn of battle, we will crush our whatever." And then when Paul Mescal did a speech, like as a gladiator, he was like, "You know that we go forth." And I'm just like, "That's how you do a speech." Like Pedro Pascal looked like he was sleepwalking through this movie. I don't understand his delivery.
He's got his one speech, and he'll give it even after his whole army or group of buddies gets killed, and they'll be like, I guess I'll just do this one later. These guys haven't heard it.
Speeches in these movies are always bad though, because that last speech when there's 1 million people and you're like, the guys
How
in the
is
back,
anybody hearing
the guys
this?
in the back. I mean, how long does it take for that to carry?
Love where we cut to
the
one
guys-
guy in the back, and you just hear like,
Yeah.
and two guys going,
They're so far away. I would love
and
to
then,
know how long it takes.
And not only do they do those speeches, but like at the Coliseum, they would address the Coliseum.
and Pedro Pascal does it again.
And
with
now-
obviously
now
no
I
Meg.
like,
will-
nobody's hearing any
Is
of
there?
this.
Look up something about the acoustics of the Coliseum.
But it's outdoors.
I feel
I
like
thought
I've
the same
read.
thing.
I don't know. I mean, I agree.
Because like I will say I did a backstage tour of Radio City Music Hall,
Okay.
which seats like 6,000 people, and we were in the it's empty when we're doing
Mm-hmm.
the tour. We are in the last row, and there were two guys on stage sweeping, and I could hear the brooms.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like those Broadway theaters were constructed before PA systems, and so they were built in a way that the acoustics would work and you could hear things without amplification. So like, but this is outdoors.
But the point is though, because this is another example of what I'm talking about, is when the two Emperor brothers are like, so obviously again, just going back to the plot. So Pedro Pascal leads his army in, they take over this town, they take all the surviving people as slaves, and they're going to sell the best fighters as gladiators to Denzel Washington's character, who is like the head of gladiators and a businessman, a very, smart businessman who keeps wagers on the fights and is very good at this. But when the emperors bring him out to the Colosseum, they're like, and now here's the general that led the troops and give a speech, and he's like, I'm not much of a whatever, and they're like, get out there, speech, and then he's like, yes, for Rome, the glory, the blah blah blah, and I'm just like, he's just talking.
He's not.
No one can hear him. Okay, if you're yelling, it's one thing, and maybe say, oh, there's acoustics. I mean, Pedro Pascal, the way he delivers speeches, I don't know if maybe he thought he sounded silly or it didn't come out right when he did like a big speech, but he just throughout the entire movie does the same thing, and I just thought that's not a very good performance for a big leading general.
He's not much of an orator. Said so himself.
Yeah.
And everyone agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. I thought that
Oh.
was a strange delivery.
The
of his
guy, though,
lines.
the main guy, little gladiator.
Yeah, Gladiator Jr.
He's got a weird mouth. He's got a weird mouth, and I feel like the beard obscures it. And I think that's a good thing for an actor and actress. If you got a weird mouth, I'm not saying it's bad. It's a very handsome man.
Yeah.
But you got a weird mouth. Joaquin Phoenix has a weird mouth.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I mean, he has a
he has
a
a
hair
hair
lip as a child. And,
But
Has he ever actually admitted that though? Didn't he? Or didn't? I mean,
I thought that was.
I mean,
maybe
I
opposite.
never
I
thought
thought.
that
I mean, he
wasn't
looks
the
like.
case.
I mean, he's always looked like he had cleft palate, right?
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to call
Okay.
it.
Oh,
But
I guess so.
yeah,
so.
but I thought there's one of those things that like he's always denied, but like
Interesting.
he just it's assumed. But anyway,
But even like a beautiful lady from The Substance, she's got a gap in her teeth. You know what I mean? Like just interesting
yeah.
mouth things. I really
Yeah.
do think are like.
oh, and Anya Taylor-Joy with her eyes the way they're spaced out, but she's
Well, that's not
obviously-
really her mouth.
Yeah,
I've
her
never
eyes.
considered.
Oh, you're not
eyes.
into anything else except for interesting mouth? I thought we were talking
No,
about
I
different
am.
body parts that are not
Yes, I 100% like
common,
what's
but they're
is it
beauty.
not Heather Gray, 80s actress with the nose. She had a interesting nose.
Oh, Jennifer Grey from Baby in a corner.
And then she got
Get
it
and then
nose
she just
job,
looked like a
stop
normal-
booking work.
fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unrecognizable, like
Unrecognizable, yeah.
just becomes. Sometimes I think about like how there's like J.C. Penney model pretty, where you'd
Right.
be like, all these women are gorgeous, beautiful, but they couldn't be leading actresses because you just can't
right.
differentiate them. So I do feel like Little Gladiator.
He likes to be called Gladiator Jr. He's tall. He's like 6 foot something.
Sorry.
He's
If they call this movie a Little Gladiator,
Lil or like
That's going to be
Lil.
the Saturday morning cartoon
Yeah.
adaptation. Little Gladiator.
Gladiator babies.
I think his weird mouth will take him far, and his acting. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but I feel like this movie did him no favor.
So apparently the Coliseum and Coliseums like it ancient amphitheaters did have amazing acoustics.
Okay.
But I will also
If you
say,
whispered,
yeah, actually, but I will also say it was set up for like there's like the performance area is
Yes.
where those acoustics are supposed to be functioning, not standing in the balcony yelling at everybody else. That would be counterproductive.
What did they do? Did they have some sort of like monitors and cameras set up for when you lit the sails of a ship on fire and the smoke obscured everything? They show like these overhead shots are from the stands, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they can't see
Right.
anything.
that's hilarious.
This Coliseum needs a ribbon board.
So anyway, so the whole deal is again, Denzel Washington sees that he takes him on as a fighter. He sees him doing like a little, not in the Coliseum, but there's like a little gladiator fight and a smaller than a large scale. I mean, they're not little gladiators.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to confuse Matt
Junior
because
Gladiators Junior.
It's a junior. It's a junior. Junior varsity.
league.
It's the minor league gladiators. And so Denzel sees him fight, and he's like, "This is interesting." And I like Denzel in this movie. I think he's having a good time.
Look, Denzel is in a totally different movie, and I really wish I was seeing that.
I think he's right. I think
Yeah.
he is right.
he's great in this. I think Denzel is just so effortlessly good, and he was having fun with the role, but I think it fit the character. Everyone else is so serious in this movie, and
Yeah.
Denzel's like,
the movie comes alive
Yeah.
when Denzel Washington
he's
is
just
on
so
screen.
charismatic.
Well, also, you know what I think is crazy is that like his story, right, is a slave that becomes one step away from toppling the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
He's becomes third in command, right under Dundas or whatever,
Yeah.
the monkey.
Yeah.
And what if we just watched that? What if we just watched that and let him do it? Let him topple. I mean, if you watch it from his perspective, I think you probably would have been like, "Yeah, these guys suck. Rome's
Yeah.
gotta fall."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like the Twin Emperors?
I
I
mean-
thought them and Denzel, like if that was more of the movie.
Yeah, I mean they're very over the top, and I know some people couldn't stand them, but you're
But
you're not supposed to like
Right,
them.
right.
I feel like Roman emperors that are just like so oblivious and ridiculous, and all they want is to drink and have sex and just be, crazy. Like I felt like that was very believable,
syphilis,
right?
brain riddled.
Yeah,
I liked watching Denzel like play those guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
That was great. The whole plotting behind people's back, that part of it I think is fascinating. I always love those movies where it's like, how are we gonna rise to power, and him like
You're
playing
gonna
people.
have a blast for the next 4 years. It's gonna be just
reality show.
it's just gonna be your time to shine, Kevin.
But I that whole part about him playing people and being really smart and strategic, and then pitting the brothers against each other in the end. I mean, that's almost to the end, but like that whole part is fascinating. And you're right. Like if Denzel's character was the character and that was the story,
And yeah,
pretty cool.
he's seen as a
But-
good guy, or more maybe even like a Scarface. Like
Yeah.
he went too crazy.
Yeah, but they want a young gladiator who can fight in Paul Mescal. I mean, to his credit, like I was mentioning earlier, I mean that guy
Hey,
is
they're
jacked.
supposed to be making 2 more Equalizer movies.
I saw
Really?
that.
Yeah.
Not only a 4th, but a 5th.
I've only seen the first. Did I tell you guys I really like revenge? Have I ever said movies? Revenge movies.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I just watched the first one recently. Crazy, right? I love revenge.
Yeah.
I knew it was about revenge.
It's a good movie.
Or avenging vengeance.
Vengeance, yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know if I care about the second one because he's like back now. And I look up the second one. It's like they kill his friend, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
can it be revenge? Does this guy just keep having bad stuff and he has to get
Yeah.
revenge?
Who is he, John Wick?
Keep it. See, that's the thing about John Wick, though. I feel like he got his revenge in the first one, and it's all the fallout. and
Yeah,
I
now
ca-
he's just
I-
being hunted.
I
for
care
having-
much
yeah.
less.
Yeah.
So
But it's a good movie. But anyway, so I agree with that. I think his story is fascinating. But Paul Mescal is kicking ass. There's the one thing about this movie is you are not bored for very long. Like if you don't like the Senate and the plotting and stuff. I mean, there's a pretty good balance. Of like,
Love
okay,
the Senate.
5 minutes of talking, and then there's another kick-ass gladiator scene.
Phantom Menace was. When
See, I was like, somewhere George Lucas is like,
Oh.
we need more Senate stuff.
Finally, we're getting to the Senate.
Yeah.
But I thought the action was good. I think it's
It was.
staged well. The fight in the beginning
It's-
is large scale.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, fighting sharks in the Coliseum
Yeah.
and zombie monkeys. And
I kind of have gotten.
But
to-
like it's all about entertainment, and I felt like with especially how outlandish those emperors were, like that they would. I mean, they want to be entertained, and they've seen the old
But, like-
sword versus sword.
But like the first one is like has some sort of grounding in reality
Right.
where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, but it's a big giant spectacle, which is why it won Best
Right.
Picture, right?
right, it was taken
Where
more seriously.
This one is like, if Gladiator was Rocky, Gladiator 2 is Rocky 4, and they never gave us 2 and 3.
I felt also like
That's a very high compliment.
there's
By the way,
some. there's
But Rocky 4 is a cartoon.
love it though. It's
Compare-
so good.
But like the original Rocky,
Isn't like an
Right.
art house movie?
that's an art house
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Like if the people, like for people who didn't see, like saw them out of order, when they go back and watch Rocky, they got to be like, what the hell is
Yeah.
happening?
It's
here?
like Saturday Night Fever. You know, it's
Yeah.
in that vein. It's
Yeah.
very much.
It's like very slice of life. It's almost mumblecore,
Yeah.
you know, and
like the original mumblecore.
Yeah.
Oh, Adrian.
and then Rocky 2 is like it's basically like a retelling of Rocky, except he
Yeah.
wins. And then
Right.
Rocky 3 is a cartoon, right? And then Rocky 4 is even more of a cartoon. And they're fun, but
and
they're
then
not.
what?
And then Rocky 5 is complete
It's
dog shit.
bad.
And then what?
Rocky
Except-
Balboa.
Except for that final fight in
Keep
Rocky
going,
5
keep-
is awesome. And then Rocky Balboa
Mm-hmm.
is the wrestler,
Okay.
but
then
with
Creed.
Rocky,
Okay,
right?
and
Like
then
they go
what?
back to the art house vibe.
and then what?
and Creed,
And then you get Creed,
which
What-
is like
which is I mean really it's like modern, it's art house. They go back to art house,
Creed
Yeah,
2.
but and then what?
and Creed 2 really follows the beats of Rocky 2. Like
Okay.
they really do.
And then
Yeah.
Creed 3.
Was okay.
That they made a third one. Did
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Creed
missed it.
3 isn't that a little bit more cartoony? I mean, that's a little bit. Isn't it the son of Drago or?
Well, Son of Drago's in it, but
Oh, it's Jonathan Majors.
It's
is the
Jonathan
bad
Majors
guy. That's right.
is the
that's
bad
right,
guy.
yeah.
And
Which
it,
turned out pretty good casting.
yeah. But it was, I liked Creed 3, but it was not as good as Creed 1
Yeah.
and 2, that's for sure. Creed 1, the first 2 Creeds are great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh,
Did you think I wasn't going to be able to do that?
no,
or-
I knew you were.
Okay, I was
I
like,
knew you
what?
were, and I felt if we're gonna stop at 4, that just didn't feel right.
Okay.
And Matt needs
Finish it out,
Matt needs
please.
very good comparisons for
Yeah.
franchises. Now Saw. What do you think Saw 1 is
Okay,
like?
so Saw 1 is like that's our house.
That's our Saw 2.
Hey, okay, so the action, right?
Yeah.
There were like story things in the action parts a little bit, but
Okay.
I did feel it almost had the musical vibe to me, where like stories happening, and then we
Because
have
they know Wicked is coming out the same day.
That's
They had
right.
to,
So they're
yeah.
trying to peel off a little bit of that.
the action scenes almost felt like we're pausing the movie for that amount of time, because like nothing really.
Well, they do the thing where that like kind of substandard action movies do, where it feels like they wrote the movie to the action,
Sure.
right? They
Look,
wrote
we
the
gotta have
action
these
scenes.
boats.
We got to have a thing where they fight sharks.
I 100% agree.
Now get us there.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I was trying to figure out how to put this into words when I was watching the movie, and I enjoyed it. Were you not entertained? I was entertained, right? But it did feel like, and in my head, I was thinking of describing it like a series of sequences stitched together.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite put my finger on it because I'm like, well, that is what movies are. But like, this really felt like action set piece, let's put some talking to string it together. And that's the biggest problem I think overall is the whole story just doesn't really click as an epic. Like the first one felt like a really well written beginning to end. He went on this journey type thing. This is like, well, he's a gladiator, so we got to do this fight. Now he's a gladiator, got to do that fight. And it just didn't really.
It really makes me disappointed in myself, and I don't think it's my fault when I'm watching an action movie and getting like confused and being like, wait, what? And I start being like, Matt, you're dumb. Like this shouldn't be a problem.
It doesn't help that all the names are weird.
But I read about it online, and it seems to be a pretty common. Even the dialogue scenes kind of end abruptly, and like they're not giving you enough.
That's what's so great about Denzel Washington in this movie, right? Like, he's obviously all his lines are written by the same guy, right? But he doesn't deliver them like he's in this fake Shakespearean thing.
Yeah.
He just talks like a guy. and like, I totally
Which
dug
is
it.
fine to me because none of them are speaking in a different language. Like, that's the
Right.
thing that always gets me
Like,
is it's like, what language are they actually speaking? We're watching in English, but none of them would be speaking English.
Right.
And there's no transition to where it goes from
They'd
a
be
different
speaking
language.
Latin,
Right? And so if
Hey,
you're
Denzel knows them all.
But
Yeah.
but if and I liked that, and I wish they would have somehow used that to tell us the language they're speaking or something.
Sure.
Like when he said that, I go, oh, we're going to get some insight into what they speak. But if you're going to have everyone just speak in English, much like there was another recent movie where like they just did not have accents. And I'm like, okay, that's a choice, but okay. But if they're going to do that, then you
Roman
don't.
spoke Latin.
Yeah. So then you don't have to have them speak in a certain way. I don't think, because they're just, if you're going to talk English,
when
then,
we make these movies about Roman times, we always make them speak with English accents.
yeah.
Right, which is just that's just an affect we've decided, and we're so it's something we're so used to seeing that we don't question it.
No.
But like they could just as easily all be speaking with Southern accents.
Right.
It's just a choice we made.
Actually,
Right.
ancient Latin did sound a lot like Deep South.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would explain all the
that's-
incest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Macronus, who is Denzel Washington's character, after the baboon fight, sees Gladiator Jr. and says, that's interesting, I'm going to get him on my roster. So he brings him up and he says, hey, he buys him and he says, you're going to fight for me or you die. I mean, either way, like that's your path. And he's like, why would I fight for you? And he's like, because I'll help you get revenge. Whose head do you want in the arena? And he's like, the whole Roman army. And he's like, little big, which is a funny line delivery. He's like, that's a little big. And he's like, okay, well, I'll take the general, Pedro Pascal's character. And he's like, you fight for me, you'll earn your freedom, and I will give you that fight. I'll give you head.
I'll give you head.
Of Pedro Pascal. And
That
so
too.
and so they had that agreement. He really doesn't want to fight or be anyone's gladiator, but again, like he's been purchased for that, and he can either just die in there or maybe get to his revenge, get to his vengeance. So it's just a series of him fighting and getting more and more popular. When they finally go to the arena, people are cheering for him because he's defeating the emperor's fighters and the best fighters, and he always is able to get out of some situation and win in the end. And the people start to follow him. Meanwhile, there's a couple different plots taking place. Pedro Pascal, the general, he
Luscious.
No, he's
No,
not
that's the
Luscious.
other
No,
guy.
that's the other guy's Luscious. Pedro Pascal's character,
Abacus.
not Abacus. God, I'm trying to. Acacius?
Acacius sounds like a thing
Acacius? Okay.
I heard recently.
Okay. So Acacius is plotting with the daughter of Marcus Aurelius.
Because he killed Lucius's his wife, but he's actually good. Turns out he's actually good.
Well, he didn't kill. So
I mean, they're
he
in
was,
a battle.
They're
in a battle.
He was a general that was waging war on this town on behalf of the emperors. Like he was sent there.
Although I will say, in the middle of a battle with like 1,000 people, he's like, "Hey, everybody, kill that! Kill that lady!"
Yeah.
Did he really? I must have missed that. He actually
he
did
did.
order them to fire an arrow at her.
Yeah.
specifically?
Because she was like
killing everybody.
She's like an
Okay.
archery
So
sniper.
as a general tactician,
and
he's like,
he's like, take out the
the
broad.
sniper.
Take out the broad.
But okay, so I mean, Yeah, but that's his job. And again, as we find out, and this is actually, I think, a really interesting plot point, is like he's supposed to be the bad guy because we want our good guy to get his vengeance for his family. But actually, Acacius does not agree with the emperors and their, bloodlust and their
people on both sides, Kevin.
So he wants to stop them because they're just going to keep going and going, and he's not feeding the people, and so he and the, Lucius's mom are plotting to actually Luscious's mom are plotting on a coup or taking over. And so there's that plot line going. And then meanwhile, there's the whole Denzel Washington thing where we find out later in the movie, started off as a gladiator and under Marcus Aurelius's control, right? And so there's kind of that interesting history between the two families where, he was owned and fought for Marcus Aurelius, who's the dad of, the mom of Lucius. And so I just liked that there was that thing where he's trying to climb to power, they're trying to wage a coup, and then Paul Mescal's trying to get his vengeance. And we know that Pedro Pascal is not really a bad guy. He doesn't like what they're doing. And so we don't like the emperors. We want him to take them out. But also, like, how does Gladiator Jr. get his revenge? Or, it's interesting that all these are going on simultaneously.
And then his mom realizes he's there, right? Goes down to see him, and is like, "You're my son," and he's like, "No," but they both know, and we all know
is her
now.
name. But
And then she says to Pedro, he's like, "Hey, we can't do the coup because we have to set my son free." And Pedro's like, "Cool. So you were just down there with him, right?
yeah,
And you can seem to go down there anytime you want. Okay, cool. But I'm gonna
stop
the coup. I'm going to take a bunch of my
get off.
guys down there, go down there. But why did he
march them down there in the dark of night? Yeah. Where it's like, can we just be a little sneaky and just kind of sneak them out?
I mean, they let her
also, I wouldn't be plotting to kill the emperors with a handmaiden in the same room.
Well, what if she was the sneakiest handmaiden of all time?
Oh, jeez. I mean, the fact that
it's ancient Rome, nobody's gonna believe a chick.
It's just a little ridiculous. They start talking, and she's there, and she knows that she's there, and then they send her away after they've basically already said, we're gonna take out these emperor guys. And then later on, she's there again, and that's when she reveals things and goes to the people that
She's like Homer in the bushes.
I know
that's so funny.
That one, it was so ridiculous. But it's just. They're doing something really, 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 really dangerous and bad. You would make sure you'd look around and there would not be one handmaiden in the room. I mean, it's just dumb. And
did she get paid or something? But they really don't even. Why'd she even do it?
I guess you do that for power. Maybe she gets free. I mean, if you stop. I mean, we don't know what. Maybe that's a spinoff.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's
The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, or a mini series or something. But the point is, I just thought that was a little far fetched, and obviously it's to advance the plot and get them caught and everything. But I think you'd be pretty sneaky plotting against the emperors.
Maybe that is part of this whole movie to me, is that it's I saw people online saying, well, it just needed to be an hour longer to flesh some of this out. And I feel
it needed to be 30 minutes shorter.
Maybe I don't know, the Justice League thing, Snyder Cut, has made people think that, because the Snyder Cut is a better story, but it's not better. It's too long.
It's still too much.
It could make more. You could make some of this stuff make more sense or be more fleshed out. But maybe you just needed to do a better job. First time.
Movies don't need to be 4 hours. That's the thing. And there are really good long movies, but movies can be an hour and a half or 2.5 on the long side, and you can tell a concise story.
And a movie can be 4 hours and be great.
That's what I'm saying. You can, a Lord of the Rings extended can be really good, but to say oh, we needed more, it's no, maybe just cut out one more ridiculous fight or one more Senate sequence. That we get the idea. I don't know.
And I'm not saying I need this handmaiden's whole backstory, but it did have me think setting the mom not just letting him out when she goes down there, him bringing the whole group. It's the things that make you think, right? And the handmaiden, I did have a moment of why is she? They just show him hand her gold.
Yeah.
Maybe they did, maybe that, but I don't think they did.
Oh, they had. I mean, that's the thing is the emperors were oh, and we have great citizens whatever his face is and the senator guy, Denzel and the senator guy. And like, clearly they're doing it to be rewarded and then obviously get awarded power and everything. So, I mean, I think everyone's just trying to get their cut, to get their, to advance. But the point is, like, again, it's just dumb in the first place because they are plotting the worst, most dangerous thing you could do there in Rome. And like, you just would clear the room first. It's stupid. It's a very messy plot point that, again, they did to lead to these other things, but it should have never happened. It's very dumb, especially for a general tactician, whatever. So it's stupid. So anyway, but I did like there was some good humor, as Denzel's doing his thing. I liked it when there was that other senator and he keeps betting with him and then double or nothing. And then eventually he's like, I own your house. Yeah. And he's like, so you want to buy my loyalty? He's like, no, I own your house. I own your loyalty. There's just some really fun scenes with that. And so this other senator is the one that has these, like, it's like whatever his face was in Game of Thrones with his little birds. His senator has ears everywhere. So he is paying this handmaid. And so that is why she reports back to him. And then they go to the emperors, and then Pedro and the mom, Lucilla, get caught in the end. And so what it comes down to is Gladiator Jr. has climbed the ranks, won over the people, and now they are going to throw Pedro and the mom to the wolves. But Rome loves these two people, right? You've got the daughter of Marcus Aurelius, who everyone still celebrates, and you've got the general who has won all these wars, and like, they're heroes. But secretly, Denzel is plotting to actually have the people hate them for doing this, right? And so in this big final climactic battle, it comes down to is like, it's going to be finally Gladiator Jr. versus Pedro, and finally he's going to have this chance to get his vengeance, and it's a pretty good fight scene. But in the end, Pedro throws his sword down and is basically like, I know who you are, and he's married to Lucilla. He's married to Lucius's mom. So
did Pedro, doesn't he go save Martha?
Yeah.
And then Lucius was like,
"Why did you say? Yeah, exactly. Save Lucilla." But so like, he's married to this woman. He obviously cares about her very much, and he cares about Rome. Like, he is a good guy doing these bad guys' bidding, but he's like, I don't want to kill you. He's like, I know who you are. You need to bring glory to Rome. Whatever. He forfeits. But then the emperors do their thing, and the gods have spoken. Thumbs down. Whatever. And Lucius puts his sword down. He's not going to do it. And then he's like, archers, kill him. And then, Pedro gets hit with 50 arrows, falls on him. And, for whatever reason, they still spare the hero, our hero, Lucius here. And he's shuffled off or whatever.
And this is it's another thing. Let's say Tom killed my wife.
Yeah.
Courtney, my beautiful, perfect lover.
Yeah.
Dead. And I blame him.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he did it because
she was trying to kill me.
Family Arena said, you got to do it.
Oh, yeah. And I
gotta kill her.
And that's a sweet government gig.
It's his job.
I get an honest to God pension. I mean, so like, if it comes down between my pension or your wife's,
right? Hey,
pension.
It's war. It's your job. And I'm hunting this guy down. I'm going through hell just to find this guy. And I dead to rights. I got my freaking sword. And he goes, I was friends with your dad, And I go, oh, what? Okay, hold on. Never mind.
I know, it is the Martha thing. It
just needs more. Or not. Maybe
he's
not
driven
more,
by
better.
rage and vengeance, and then I know it's. But so
and he's gonna kill him in that fight. Like, he wants to kill him.
But it just took him saying, "I know who you are," and he goes, "I knew your father, Maximus, and I loved him," and blah blah blah. But so that does stop him dead in his tracks, and he decides that he's gonna stop his crusade. I know it's wild. But basically, Denzel's pulling the strings behind the scenes. He wants, now that this hero has been killed and ordered dead, all the crowd's going crazy. What did you think of those archer guys, the security, with their arrows that they kept showing at the crowd?
I mean,
it's a little silly.
You got one shot.
Yeah, and after you do that, we saw what happened. They shoot a civilian, and everyone's like, oh, no. So there's the healer guy we talked about, pretty important plot point. So he's become friends with Lucius, and he says, Lucius says, hey, here's the deal. There is an army waiting and needs the command, and Pedro was going to give it, but obviously he can't now. But he's like, you need to go to them and tell them to come. We're going to overthrow Rome. And he's like, who should I say sent them? And he's like, I'm Lucius Aurelius, whatever. Here's the ring. Give him this. So he sends the healer out to the army to tell them what's going on. Meanwhile, the healer gives them the keys that go to all the jail cells. And so he's got all the gladiators freed, but they're pretending to be locked in the cells. The armies come down to get the gladiators for the fights. They all bust out. There's a big fight ensues. So, there's chaos going on everywhere. All the archers that are pointed at the crowd, they're coming down and pulling them off the side of the Colosseum. Big fight goes down. It's a big, good action scene. But when it comes down to it, the very last thing the emperors have staged was like, okay, you have one shot to free your mother. Where, because we are just kind emperors, you can fight and be her, whatever that's called, your champion. You can fight for her, but you got to fight our whole army. That's the downside. So she and all the Senate, all the people that have, betrayed Rome, that are plotting behind their back, are all tied up on this big float type thing in the middle of the Colosseum. He comes out there, and then all of a sudden an army surrounds them, and he's fighting them off, and then other gladiators come and fight, and there's a big fight ensues that we were talking about. And then right when he gets to her, Denzel picks up a bow and shoots her. And, we find out again there's some bad blood here. One, now this guy has kind of betrayed him because he didn't kill Pedro like he said he was going to do. Also, he was a slave and purchased as a gladiator from her father. So, there is that whole backstory. And he kills her right in front of him. So he can't quite get to her. She dies. And now obviously he is extremely enraged. Denzel flees on horse. Meanwhile, he meets up, they get to this middle point where the whole army is coming, knows that this other army is on the horizon, and they all kind of meet in the middle. Lucius trots off on his horse after Denzel. They meet in the middle of these two armies, and they have a big fight and a showdown. A pretty good action sequence. And Denzel holds his own. He gets,
yes, he does.
He kicks his ass. Not bad for an older guy, but he can still fight. Gets him into the water and is shoving his sword down the water, trying to kill him underneath there. And Lucius picks up a huge rock and bashes him in his head, bashes his head in, and kills him. And then he gives his big speech where he's just like, "Hey guys, what are we doing here? Rome is bad. We love Rome. That's all I want. I just want Rome and the people to be."
Gives a speech to 4,000 people.
If that's on the
And
low
I guess
side, yeah.
At this point, he is the rightful ruler.
He is.
He
is the heir to the throne. Yeah. So they all know who he is. He says, "I am Lucius Aurelius, blah blah blah, and I want the people to be free and all this." And and the people, it's pretty believable because the people love him, and he's earned their respect throughout the fights and everything. So that's pretty much how it is, how it ends. There's this whole thing where he sees his wife, and there's the ferry, the whole death on the ferry thing. And that stuff didn't really land for me. I think in the first movie, those sentimental moments landed a lot better. In this one, maybe because it just seemed like we were kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
But as I watched them, I wasn't getting teary eyed. I wasn't really buying the whole.
But that's also because you're not a puss.
True. I was,
You're very manly.
I was all riled up from those fight scenes and everything, but I don't think those were handled that great for whatever reason. Just didn't really like that whole thing. But yeah, so let's see. Acacius as Macrus's armies meet outside Rome to avert a battle. Macrus and Lucius duel. He kills him. He reveals his true identity as the imperial heir, speaks to both armies, convincing them to build a united and progressive Rome with him. Later, Lucius.
Woke.
Lucius mourns his parents in the Colosseum. And then the last scene is, I guess they really did refilm. They got a Russell Crowe cameo, apparently.
Is that really?
From my
That's his hand?
understanding. I believe so, because
That's hilarious.
it didn't look like reused footage. I think they did get Russell Crowe to come and film kind of like an afterlife type thing, where he
Right.
kept seeing his family in the afterlife. Just know that he's still there,
Could've
and
been
you see him
anyone's
doing
hand.
the...
So they brought him in just to film his hand?
I think they did.
I was wondering because
it looked bigger, right?
Not to be mean, but the
Right.
hand was kind of pudgy. And,
yeah.
Yeah. And
He's
I'm
older
just
now,
like...
yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't think it was reused footage either, and I was just like, would you really bring in Russell Crowe and then only film his hand?
Well, I think anything else you do, and I heard there were rumblings of doing Mufasa Ghost,
Yeah.
him talking to him in the afterlife, and maybe they did film something, and they're like, let's just use this,
I don't know how you do it without it, one, being cheesy, but also because Russell Crowe, he has aged.
Yeah.
It's the same problem Beetlejuice had, right? Where it's like you can't bring back Gina Davis and
As
Alec
ghosts.
Baldwin as ghosts because ghosts shouldn't age, and they're
Right.
30 years. They're visibly
Right.
older.
Maximus not looking like a gladiator in
Man.
his army just would make it,
You have
his
some-
armor would.
You have some really hard rules about ghosts.
I do. Why would a ghost age?
You're right. The ghost. That is the thing.
Why
about
would a
that.
ghost?
Why would it? Right.
Why would a ghost be a thing?
Right, but
Well,
they
yeah,
don't.
but once
they
you
don't.
accept the idea.
Oh, you're
of
a
ghost.
90-year-old ghost. Yeah, I mean, you got to play by their rules, and if you're a ghost, it's like, why would you age?
I never saw any established ghost rules in Gladiator. Maybe the ghost age. Maybe there's 4,000-year-old ghosts that look insane, super messed up.
Man,
Oh,
I
they
wanna-
age, but they keep aging. They never go.
They're
don't-
just skeletons.
I really don't want to be a ghost.
No. So,
You know what my problem with big battles is?
what's that?
It's just all okay. Like when they're in the very beginning, Rome's storming the town, the city, and they're just shooting arrows, and
Yeah.
it's just like this is all just random until they're like together,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
and I don't like it.
But I see my complaint about scenes like this is I feel like filmmakers add much more narrative and
Yes.
cohesion to a battle than it would
Right.
really have. It would be just a hot mess of
Yeah.
the what possible strategy could. I'm sure there is obviously some sort of strategy, but on the ground it's just going to be
Or
chaos.
when they see their buddy in trouble and they're like, "I'm gonna go over there."
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna get over there?
Like I think that's what made Saving Private Ryan, that opening
Yeah.
scene, so great. Is I mean, it really gave you the idea of the chaos of war.
I thought the first Lord of the Rings did all that stuff really well. I mean, it's all silly and fake, but like it looked good enough. Like it looked like, oh, these four guys are really doing it.
Yeah.
And then we get to the part where they're riding out on the bridge on their horses and just knocking orcs into the and like not one orc just went boink.
That's always the problem. That's the same problem I did have. Even though the battle was staged really cool in the very beginning when Pedro comes out, he is breezing past people and doing the thing where he's like, duck, swipe behind me. He's just breezing. It's like, no, there's enough people like they would stop you. You can't
Right.
just be like, boop, go by you, go
Yeah.
by you. It's like, no, they're all trying
one
to kill
hit
you.
dead. One hit dead.
Yeah,
One hit dead.
it's that's the in all battle sequences.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And there's some people do it better. Like I know it's silly. I know you have to have some sort of storyline through those parts.
yeah.
I did feel like this movie did some of that stuff not that great.
Yeah, there were parts
where
of
it's
that-
hard to not think about like why didn't that guy just why did that guy just hold his sword up and let Pedro
Right,
get
go
him?
swipe him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Rhino fight was cool.
it's
I thought
his
the
first
rhino
day.
looked cool.
Rhino was cool. I liked
Rhino
it.
in armor.
I did like at the end when the rhino's still standing there, just being like, "Oh man,
Oh, yeah.
like I thought it was dead."
Yeah,
and
he
then I
does
was
the, like the
"Oh, cool."
bullfighter thing where he does a bunch of smoke in the air, grabs the dust like Maximus does, but uses it as a weapon. The rhino gets distracted, goes through a wall, and then and the rider is crashed off, and they have their fight. But I thought it looked good. Like the rhino again is a CG
Yeah.
animal. That one looked really good. The armor was cool looking. It was just a cool fight. A guy riding a rhinoceros. I've never seen that in a movie, like an action movie thing. I thought it was cool. So
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, that is entertaining.
I mean,
That's
I-
fine.
like, they're not. These aren't my kind of movies.
Yeah,
and it was fine. It was not as good as the first one. 'Cause
No,
I
no.
I didn't see the first one in the theater. I saw when it was on HBO or DVD
Okay.
or something, and I was just like, oh, I enjoyed the movie, and I did not expect to enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
This one, it was like I didn't hate the movie, and I expected to hate the movie. I mean, there's a lot of really
a
dumb
sequel
stuff
to
in it,
Gladiator does seem silly.
but yeah,
It's-
but it was fine.
I'm glad I watched it last night because if we filmed this a week, we film it.
yeah, we're filming.
If we did it a week after, I'd be going, yeah, man, I don't remember. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's
Well,
a-
I mean, I watched it yesterday, and I'm still like thinking plot point because when gladiators fight. I mean, it's hard to remember how it bounces around because it's just like again, Senate talking, fight, plotting, fight. It keeps bouncing back and forth. So to really remember, oh, it's this fight this time and this fight, it's hard to.
yeah,
Yeah,
but Wicked was better.
I'll never see it.
It's good.
And I would have never seen this if it
Yeah.
wasn't for
There you
real
go.
spoilers.
So anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
Shoot, you know what? I will. Letterboxd. I want more
Hey.
people following me on Letterboxd. Matt F. Bosler. And I've been on my Patreon. I have my own Patreon. I've been talking about every movie I see in the previous month.
really.
And so a lot of
awesome.
times, you know what I do? This is good. Guys, I got to tell you, I love you guys.
Oh,
I love you because a lot
But
of
the
times.
holidays are just really filling your
Oh
heart.
yeah, but a lot of times I get to a movie and I'll go. Oh, and I talked about this on Real Spoilers. You should go listen to
Oh,
that
that's
whole
nice.
episode where I talk about the whole thing. So
that's nice.
That would explain why we've gone viral.
I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. And that's it. Don't find me anywhere else. Leave me alone.
Real spoilers Patreon.
Shoot, I host a podcast. It's called Real Spoilers Patreon. Head over there. We're right in the middle of a big series that it's not even out yet. It's not even
It's a big one.
released yet.
So
but,
that would not be the middle.
no, we are in the
No.
middle of it.
It depends.
Have you recorded more episodes
No.
about SNL?
No.
So there's like how many SNL movies?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And just mathematically speaking,
Depends on how you look, but if you only get 2,
that's not the middle.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm ready. As soon as anybody else wants to sit down and talk to me about Wayne's World,
all right,
let's do it.
party on. This is Kevin. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show on the internets at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, which will one day feature me talking about the Blues Brothers.
Hell yeah.
One day.
Hey, it's also, guys, it's X, formerly known as Twitter, I think is the official name of that site.
Until I get a check, it's Twitter. I don't care. So, anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, Billy Anna lays an egg in the Gnome King's mouth.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we